All right, so back here, let's create another. If we come over here, let's go inside app, the tree under the dashboard. We want to create another page. We call it what create. So and inside it, we create these two components, page.tss file, and we create another one as what page client. So page client, where we'll be executing anything client over there and calling it within the page. So let's go ahead and export this component, and it's going to be a server component. So we add a sync over there. So first of all, let's check if there is no session. If the user does not have any session, then we log the user out, or we redirect the user to another page. So await what auth. So import the auth from that auth file that we implemented, and we will check this session can be null or can be the session. So we check if not session, then we want to return redirect. So we want to redirect the user back to the home page. So like this. So but if there is a session, then we can now go ahead and call our page client. So this page client that we've implemented over here. So over here at the top, let's go ahead and create a React component over here. Then we can use it here, import this here to be used. So it should be imported. So just like this. So now we can be able to navigate from one page to another. Let's check it out. So when we come over here, you can see in this account, this browser, we have not yet logged in. So if you try to access that page, create, and it's navigate, it will redirect us back to the home page. So this is a great page. You can see it will redirect us back. If you try to navigate, it will redirect us back. So but if we sign in, we click over here, and maybe we create an account over here. Do we have this account? So there is no this account. Let's go ahead and sharply create it. So and we can click on create. So the account is created. If you try to navigate to create now, we should be able to see page client over here. So now we want to, since this is actually going to, we are going to be accessing our database. So over here, let's create a simple function. We call it a const and get what categories. So const get categories is going to be an async function, but we call this React what catch, because we want to catch if this function is called always. Every time it should return a catch version of it. So it's going to be an async function over here, and within this async function we can go ahead and have our try and catch statement. So we are going to be accessing database over here. So first of all, we await connect to database. So we connect to our MongoDB database over here, and then we can say const and docs or const categories is equal to or let's just say const result is equal to await categories dot find. So category, we import the category model. So like this, category model dot find. So and then we can say const for each category that is found, we want to map through it and convert and return and return the name of that category, that is the doc name. So doc.name, and the ID over here should be doc._id to string. So we convert it into string. And then if there is no, so with this, let's specify a type over here, or we can just go ahead and specify a type. Let's create another. Okay, we already have types over here, so let's go ahead and create another type or interface known as app categories or app category. So app category like this, and it's just going to have two props, and then the name is going to be string, and the ID too is just going to be string. So we can now go ahead and use it over here. We tell you that we are expecting app category as a type, an array of app categories. So we can now go ahead and pass it to our client So let's just return it for now. So return the categories for now. So and if there is any error, we want to just return an empty categories over here like this. So this function basically is going to return our own categories. So since we have created it, we can now go ahead and call const categories is equal to await get categories like this. And then we can now go ahead and pass it to our page client. So over here, we can now pass this prop to our page client on the server, so they can be able to display within our client side. And we also pass this session on the server over here. So when we go to our page client, remember this our page client is also within this create route. So over here, we are expecting two things, and since it's let's specify the props. So we are expecting two props, and the number one prop is the session, and the session over here is type of session from next auth, and we are also expecting category as type of app category. That is an array of app category. So over here we have the session, and we also have the categories. We can now go ahead and create a form over here for actually publishing video. So fragment over here and close it like this. So let's save everything and see if there will be no error. So let's go ahead and log if at all. So let's change this into a client component. So use client at the top, use client at the top like this, and we go ahead and do console.log categories. So let's log the categories and see. So we are within this page. Let's check our console. So if you check our console, you see we have up to 20 categories over here. See the categories over here that are fetched from our database. So let's go back. So if we go back to this model, since we have already created, our categories have been created automatically, we can go ahead and comment out this function that we created it to create categories automatically for us. So and we can comment out these categories in the code over here. So like that. So we will now focus on creating a component for actually publishing our videos. All right, so since we want to actually have to save our upload status in the local storage so that we can be able to resume video upload, we have to create a key. So let's call it video upload key, and we give it this value. And we also need to create local state. So let's say type local state interface, local state, and we need to have some props. First of all, we need to have a video file, and it can be type of file or not. We need to have a photo file, and it also can be type of file or not. We need to have loading, which can be word boolean. We need to have tags, which can be what string array, or array of strings. We need to have a title, which can be string. We need to have description, which can be string. We need to have a category, and category will be type of what app category. So the type that we define, which will just be name and what the ID. So we need to also keep track of the thumbnail. We need to keep track of the video ID. So video ID can be what undefined or not. We need to also keep track of what of bytes uploaded. So bytes of upload. So this type of upload, we have bytes uploaded, bytes total, and bytes percentage. This will help us to show the video upload progress. So and then thumbnails, a string of thumbnails. So we'll be generating thumbnails. So we like to also show them as well. And we also know the selected thumbnail for upload. As for categories, we will have this an array of categories. From here, let's create an initial state. So we can say const initial state of local state. So let's define some types, and we can hover over this and add missing props. So video can be null and all the like. So this is the initial state. After this, we come into the component. Let's remove this and create a use state. So use state snippet. Let's paste it like this. So the initial state will be this. Then the next step over here is actually to design our form. So over here, let's have a box element, and inside the box element, we need to have something like an input to show our word select file. So within this, we can have an input tag, and the type of the input tag will be word file. So we want to upload file, and we want to only accept type of word video type. So and if it is unchanged, then we want to check if the files exist and then get a particular file. So let's end this stuff here and close it like this. But we want this type of input to be hidden, so that when we click on like this box, we can then be able to toggle this input to click on this input. So before that, we need to create some ref over here at the top. So let's create some ref. So we can say const word video ref. And video ref is equal to use ref hook. Let's use ref hook from React, and it should be what type of word, and it should be type of HTML input. So like this. So and over here we can now go ahead and call ref and pass the video ref. We also need to have a photo ref where we'll use it later, but for now let's have this. We want this to have a border, so over here just open and something, just put an array and a function of theme, and we can now go ahead and provide our props. So first of all, we actually want to have an height. This is to have height of 180 pixels. We want to actually have a border, and let's type border, and the border value should be 1 pixel dash at themeverse.palette.gray 400. Then we want to also display this as flex so that we can center all the items within this element. We want to align items. We want to align item center. We want to justify center, put up pointer, and then we also want to, like, if we click on this element, it should be able to trigger. You should click this file input since we are hidden it. So we can add an on-click listener here. So say on click, if this element is clicked, then you should go ahead, hold this video ref, check the current, if current exists or which will pass a ref to this input, you should go ahead and do what? Click this file. So it will toggle the file to open for us to select a file. So let's save everything and preview the browser. When you come over here and just click on create, and you can see this box over here. So let's go ahead and add a border radius, to it, and border radius of 2. should be okay, so that you can have this rounded corners. So we want to show an upload button in the center over here. So in order to do that, after we inside this box, after this, let's open another box element, and we can have it like this, but we want to actually set, let's have the height and the width. We have the same border over here, and we want to have the height and the width of this to be just 60. So the height should be 60 pixel, and the width should also be 60 pixel. The border radius of 2, or I guess since we want to make it a cycle, we have border radius of what, 50%, and we want to display its flex. We want to allow item center, justify center, and then we want to give it a flex direction of column, and we want to have a border of 1 pixel dash. So since this we want to make use of themes, let's highlight this here and then cut it. Then we can have what, square over here, and then pass a function of theme there, and we can now paste this one inside so that we can be able to access theme. And over here now, what else do we need to do? Let's add an icon button over here, and we import icon button from material UI, and within it we want to show an upload button. So we check upload file outline button, so like this one over here is the button that we want to show, and we want the size, let's leave the size of the button to be what, small, and we want to disable what, we want to disable rifle, focus rifle, we want to also disable rifle, we want to also disable touch rifle. So outside of this box, we want to also show the file name when selected. So we can open a box element over here, and then within the box element we can check if state.video file dot if state.video file, let's say if state.video file exists, then we want to go ahead and show the name of the file that is selected together with if it start uploading. So we want to have something of this nature. Let's upload a video, but this one over here we want it to be a typographic element, and over here too a typography element. We want to give it a variant of what, of caption. Number 2 should be caption. And let's import this if it's not yet imported. And then within this we don't just want to show the name, so let's just format it. We don't just want to show the name over here, we want to show the upload size as well. So with this now, let's highlight this, and so we want to show the name of the file and cut it to 15. So we create this function, and we also want to show the byte that is being uploaded. So for there, let's create another directory. Okay, we already have a UT directory over here, so we want to create this shorten name function. So let's go over here, and the shorten name function will just say export const what on shorten name is equal to, is going to take the name. So let's just say it's going to take the name that we want to shorten and the limit they want to shorten it to. So if no limit is provided, we can just go ahead and give it what. So if no limit is provided, let's give it a default number of what, 7. So if no limit is provided, we check if name or length is greater than limit, then we slice it at that limit, but else we return the name in full. So but over here we want to also show the file extension. Since we want to show the file extension after we shorten this name, we will actually call the name and split it based on what, this dot. So if it is going to be a PNG file, or if it's going to be a video MP4 file, it's maybe going to be video dot what, MP4. So we will actually split it based on dot, so it will remove this dot and convert it into an array. Then we will get the last element from the array. So like at the end of the day, it will be what, like maybe video.mp4, or if the name is too long, video, it will only take its first 7 characters dot what, mp4, and it will add this dot dot. So the next function over here that we need to actually create is the format byte function. So we can now go ahead and import this one. The next step is to create this format byte function. So go back to UT over here, and this function over here is going to take byte in number, and it's going to take the decimal places that we want to show. So if byte is equal to 0, it just return what, 0b. But the k over here is in 1024, and the size will have byte kb. So it will just go ahead I. Once I is equal to math.flow, okay, math.log byte divided by math.log what, k, and then it will return what, pass float byte divided by math.power is or k comma what, I dot to fix decimal. So it's just basically this function. What it's going to do is, if you are uploading and there's giving us the byte that we are uploading, we can be able to show like maybe 13 kilobyte uploaded over what, or for 65 MB. Just like that. So this is what basically this byte function is doing over here. So we can go ahead and actually import this function over here. So if we go back over here, you can see our upload button, and you can see, but we don't want this to display side by side, we want it to display column. So let's see what is happening over here. We come over here and give this thing flex direction of what, column. So if we just add place direction of column, we should be able to display the video. So if a video is not yet selected, you see this upload video. If we click on it now, it should be able to toggle our video selection. You can see some other files are disable only videos that can be selected. So, and if we select a video now, you should be able to show the video name. And if the video is too long, it will shorten the video over here. So, and then give us the extension and also show us the byte. So that is it for now. So the next file input over here is we need to show a progress bar over here as the video is uploading. So let's handle that. In order to show our progress bar, we show it below the box of this let's give it the name of upload box. Below this upload box, we want to show our progress bar. So progress bar over here, and in the progress bar we check if video is selected, then we import what a linear progress with label. We create this component over here, and we give it a height of 15, border radius of 5, and margin top and bottom of 1, and we can go ahead and access this state.upload percentage. Remember, under our state we have an upload probe that has bytes uploaded, has bytes total and bytes percentage. So we want to go ahead and show the percentage over here, the percentage value. So let's create this component. In order to create this component, let's open our components directory, go to common, and let's create this file. So the name of the file is linear progress with label .tss. So this is the name of the component, and we go ahead and actually import box and typography from material UI, import React, import linear progress and linear progress props from material / linear progress. So over here we create a function that is going to accept props, and the props is also going to accept a value with number type. Then we go ahead and call this linear progress, and we specify that the type of linear progress, the color should be error, and the variant should be determinant. Then we go ahead and spread the linear progress props over here, and then we also show this, so that as it is progressing, it will also be showing the value by the end. So we want to show the value like 10% and all the like. So after we have created this component, let's go ahead and export it so that we can be able to call it in our component and use it. So export linear progress label from linear progress label, linear progress with label. You see now what we have here, linear. Oh, let's change the name, and over here give it a capital P, and the error should be gone. Let's go ahead and import linear progress. So let's change it to P. The error will be gone in due time. So, and we can now go ahead and import this component over here to be used. So this is just the next step over here is to create our title input. Again, before we create our title input, let's go ahead and create a section over here to show our thumbnail. So basically, we actually want, if the state of the video is present, that is, if a video file is selected, we want to show a thumbnail. The thumbnail is generated. So let's import this tag component from material UI, and we want to show the thumbnail. Once we show the thumbnail, we should also show an input that users can be able to manually upload a particular file. So over here, this function we create it in a Jiffy function upload thumbnail, and we also want to have a button. So it is basically going to be a version of this input with a smaller version of it. So it will show over here. We see that in Jiffy, and we want to also import card media over there, and when a user clicks on this, we want to actually change the thumbnail. So basically this is what we have over here. Let's save it and preview. So if you come to the browser, you won't see anything, but if you click on this and you select a video file, it will show you the input, so like this, and it will also show you the progress. So but for now, we have not yet created a function for generating a thumbnail based on the video that is selected. So let's go ahead and complete the form by designing the title, the description, and the tags input. All right, below here, let's go ahead and create our input. So over here we just import font control from material UI. We have this text field. We also have set state over here. If the title has changed, we have set the value to state.title probe that we have defined over there at the top, and we say state has changed. Then we want to go ahead and get the current value and assign it to title. And over here, this is the description, just like title over there, but we want this type of text field to be multi-line. And over here, when the state has changed, we assign the value state or description, and when the state has changed, we want to assign the target value to the description. And this tags input, will be creating it in a Jiffy, and we also have categories input. Then we import the button over here, and then we can create a function of handle publish. So we can create this function over here at the top. So this function over here, we create it const handle publish, and for now let's leave it as empty. And which other function that we need to on delete tag and on tags change, these are the functions that we also need to create. So over here, let's call const this one handle tag and this. So let's have it like this for now. And we also have const on tags change. This is another function that we need to pass to our tags component. So let's leave them For now, let's leave them empty. We complete these functions. We just want to do away with the errors. So these are the basic functions that we have for now. So let's go ahead and create this tags input component. So in order to do that, let's go to our commons directory and open our commons directory and create a file known as tags.input.txs. Within this our tags input, we want to actually say it's going to be a client component. So we define a client component at the top over there. We want to also define the interface or the type. So we are going to pass a limit probe, and we need on tags change, which will take an array of tags. We also need on delete tag. When the function is called, we want to delete that specific tag, and we also need to pass the tags over there to be displayed within there if we have any. And then we create this tags input component that is going to take type of probes over here, and it will save this on change. And by default, we want the limit to be 20, but we can extend the limit over there in our page client component. Then we have this input set input state over here, and on keys down, if the key is entered, we want to go ahead and if the key is entered and the limit has not exceeded, we want to go ahead and if the key is entered and the limit has exceeded, we want to prevent default. We don't want to add a tag. But if the event key is entered and the value is the tags, the length is less than the limit, we want to go ahead and train the tags input. Then we call this on tags change over here, and then we assign our tags. So and likewise, if this delete too, if we click on a particular tag, we want to go ahead and delete it. And on change, we want to go ahead and set the tags input. So we have basically created a form over here, and then giving it some props over here like display flex swap, and we want to render these tags within this particular form. So and the tags over here, we're looking through the tags that we have entered so far with the tags that we have passed, since it's going to be an array, and we are calling the chip component. So chip is an MUI component for displaying our elements like over here. So we just call the chip, and it also has a function of on delete. So whenever we click on the chip to delete, we want to pass the particular tag that we want to delete so that we can remove it away from the tags array. So and over here we have an input where users can be able to type. So this input over here, basically it is just going to be take the type of the value that you say the one we are currently typing, and when it changes it will set the value to the current value, and on key down that you say if enter is pressed and anything, then we can go ahead and check if the tag has exceeded or not. Then we insert the tag, and the placeholder that we want to show the user is type a tag and press enter. And if there is no tag, then we can say add. If there is more than one tag, we want to show add another tag, and the variant of this input should be standard. We want it to be autofocused, and we want to also disable underline. So we don't want to show underline on the input. We also show some XS prop over here, giving padding to the input. And as we are displaying this, we can see that this particular element over here, this form element, is displayed in in flex. So we want to show the input on the side and also show the total tags. So we access the tags.length divided by the limit. So after we have created this tags input, we can now go ahead and export it so that we can use it in our components. So over here, paste it like this, and we can now go ahead and over here, and we can now go ahead and import this. But now let's work on this delete and on tags change. You can see their type over here is taking type of tags. That is the on change tag is taking type of tags, and this on delete over here is taking type of tag. So let's handle this today. Let's work on these functions. Over here, we have to change this to conform. So this is going to take on change. This is going to take type of change, and then we can go ahead and insert the update our state over here and add the tags. And on delete again, we will filter out a particular item that is deleted. So let's come down over here, and the next component that we need to work on is the categories input. So the categories input is just like the tags component over here. So let's go to commons and create a new file known as categories input.tss file. The categories input is going to be just like the tags input. So and the categories input, since we already have type of category over here, we will actually import app category like this and use it in place of this. So it's going to accept some props of category, the selected items, and the on change. Over here, we want to also show notification when we have reached the limit of the specified categories. So we don't want the categories to be more than 3, and over here. So, and we can now, if on change and the value of our category over here, which is going to be an array, if it's greater than 3, you want to show a notification that you can select max of 3 categories and show the severity of that notification should be 1. You can see we are using a hook use notification. Use notification is imported from two-part call. So they have some setting and use hook. They have some setting hook API that you can be able to make use of. So if you want to show notification using this two-part within your dashboard, you call this use notification, and from there you can be able to access some props over here like this function and show your notification. So we have created an autocomplete over here so that users can be able to actually search with our tags. So, and we use autocomplete components, and we say it should be able to select multiple elements over here. We pass the options. The options here are going to be what the categories that we fetch from our database, and we're going to pass with this category as the word the props. So, and we want the value. The value should be what the selected items. The unchanged event over here is going to be what if it changes one to what pass the value. So it's basically going to be an array of what of our categories type. So that is the name and the ID. So, and when we select the category, we want to show the render option. If you are dealing with autocomplete component from material UI, you can be able to actually display what a checkbox. So they have different examples. You can go ahead and check it out. And want to render an input where users can be able to search or select a particular category of text field over there. Then we pass. So this is basically what this categories input is doing. So, and over here we can now go ahead and export this component so that we can use it in our component over there, in our create component. So over here, let's export constant over here the categories input. Then we can now save everything and import this categories input over here, where the categories input is expecting what the unchanged and what is state dot what categories. So on the state over here, we made a mistake. Instead of categories, we said category. So over here should be category, not categories, not category. So, and the next thing that we need to work on is on category change, this function. So on category change over here, let's create this function at the top over here, just like this one. When the category has changed, we want to go ahead and it's going to give us, anytime it has changed, it's going to return a categories array. So the items over here. So we just go ahead and update our state categories over here and spread other items over here. So this is basically what this categories is doing. So we can save everything and check it out. So you can see when we come back to our form over here, you can see we have our title, we also have our description, we also have our tags. So if you say tags, you can see the chip that is shown with the delete icon over here. So we can go ahead and continue adding more tags like this until as we're adding it is counting, and then we're showing us the limit. The limit is 20 and the current tags is 2 or 3. And the categories we also sent from the server, we pass that to our client component. We can be able to show them here as well. You can see they are displayed automatically, so we can be able to select more than one category. And by the time we reach up to 3 categories, you can see you cannot select more than 3 categories. So, but you can see it is actually adding another type. Let's fix the error. In order to change this, we are able to select more than 1 category, more than 3 categories, but the issue was just to refresh the page. So all we needed to do was to refresh the page, and everything is back to normal. So we cannot select more than 3 categories, and we receive this notification. We can select mass of 3 categories. So now we can enter our tags over here, and everything is looking great. And we can delete the tag and all the like. So we also have our publish button over here. So the next step is to create functions that we can actually be able to publish, to upload our video to Bunny CDN. So we are done with the interface over here. So we need to work on the function of what actually sending our file to what Bunny CDN. So before we do that, let's create some functions over here. Remember, when the file is selected, we want to go ahead and generate thumbnails. We want to also create the video, save the video records. We want to also actually create a video on Bunny CDN before actually uploading the video to Bunny CDN. So like the reason why we have to create a video on Bunny CDN before actually uploading the video is it will give us the functionality to use within our tools. Remember, I told you we use an API over here that will help us to resume video upload when we have selected the video to upload and there is a network glitch. So in order to do that, we need to create some couple of functions. So let me quickly explain what is happening over here. First of all, we need to create a function. So we already have handle publish that we have created, so we remove it over here and we explain this. So over here, let's make use of another function known as use local storage. So this function here is going to be imported from our 2path/core. So when you want to access local storage in 2path dashboard, we make use of this. You can still make use of local storage of set item or get item. We have created this, and this video upload key, we want to save the video state in local storage. When we are uploading the video, we want to set the video ID. So to track if the video was already selected for upload. If it's like that, we can resume the upload. So we set the video ID over here. So we want to get the video ID. If we check that there is a video, the same video is selected, and the video ID exists in the local storage, we go ahead and return the current video ID. But if it does not exist, then we wait and create that video on Bunny CDN. So we'll be working on this function in a jiffy. So and then if result or data, that is say we check if what is returned over here. If there is no video, we throw an error. If it's not able to create a video on Bunny CDN server, we throw an error. And else we set the video ID to our state over here. So if you remember our state over here, we have prop of video ID. So we go ahead and set the video ID over here, and then we return the video ID. So and then handle thumbnail upload. Over here, when we have generated some thumbnails and we have selected a particular thumbnail, we want to handle the upload. So first of all, we generate a file name for it. So we're going to create this function in a jiffy, And then we go ahead and what and set the photo file to what set the photo file to that particular. Remember this function we pass a file and this. So we set the photo file to the thumbnail that is selected, and then over here we trigger our upload what our upload video thumbnail function. So this function we're going to create it in Jiffy, and then we also make use of what notification over here to show. So in order to make use of that notification, so we can just say const notif like this is equal to what use notification. So use notifications from what two part. So when we want to show a pop-up what notification, so over here call this notif.show, pass the message. If it's an error we want to show, and then we want to hide it after 3 seconds. So but if no result or data, then we return null. But if the thumbnail is actually uploaded, we go ahead and we'll set our current thumbnail to the file name that is returned and set the selected thumbnail. If not selected thumbnail is passed, we set it to the file URL, so over here, and then we go ahead and check the thumbnail over here if it exists over here. If not thumbnail, then we go ahead and what add the thumbnail to our list of thumbnails. So if we upload a manual thumbnail, we go ahead and we want to show it together with the thumbnails. So we go ahead and pass the file so that it can be able to display together with the list of thumbnails. Else we will do what? We show our thumbnails over here. And if there is an error within this catch block, we go ahead and we'll show the error. So we have to install another library known as what? Nano ID. So let's install that library. Let's open new terminal and type this command npm install nano ID. So like that. And we import it over here and make use of it. So I guess our library has installed. So let's go ahead and import nano ID from nano ID. So over here, import what nano ID from what nano ID. So but I guess nano is going to be like that. So and we just generate some random string and attach to our file name. When we click on change video thumbnail, we're going to see how this will work. And if remember when we're generating our thumbnails, we are going to convert them into base64 image, so base64 file. So when we select the thumbnail, we want to convert the thumbnail back to what? Back to a file. So before we actually upload it to our server. So from there, that's the reason why I have this function. We'll be creating this function in a Jiffy. And when the video is selected, we want to do what? We want to generate thumbnails. So we'll be creating this function too. So we generate the thumbnails and we'll update our state and set it to what? The thumbnail, so that we can be able to display it to the user. And then this handle file upload over here. This handle file upload is actually once we have selected a file I want to upload, then we will check if the file is not, if the selection is not cancelled. If there is a file that is selected, we go ahead and update the video file to that current file. Then we call this function what? Get video thumbnails. So the function get video thumbnails, in turn we call generate thumbnails and generate the thumbnails and show based on the video that was selected. As we are uploading this video using a TOS API that we can be able to resume the video, we need to specify expires in. So this expires in is the time that this particular process will expire. So like this one, I want it to expire in 24 hours. So if a user has selected a video to upload, when we want to upload it to Bunny CDN, the time that you take our token that we want to use it to upload on the client side should be what 24 hours. It should take it 24 hours to expire, so that even if the user's network is slow, the file will be able to upload within 24 hours. I guess 24 hours time is enough. So we add it to the current time, and then we get the title. If there is any title over here from the state, then we go ahead and show the title of the video. And if there is no title, we pick the file name. So and then we also want to get the video ID over here. So when we get the video ID, we can now call this get pre-signed signature. We are going to use Bunny CDN to create a signature, so that we can be able to allow our users to upload video on the client side. Else we'll be exposing our security tokens. So but with this signature, we can be able to create a signature from our server where the user will not have knowledge of our API keys, and send it down to the browser for the user to use it within 24 hours to upload video. So you can see we are making use of TOS. I told you TOS is an API over here that can enable us to upload, to resume video upload when there is a network glitch or when we navigate away from the browser tab. So we already created a TOS endpoint. So we are going to basically import it from from config. We already created this endpoint, this environment variable, and we configured it in this our config directory over here. So we had our Bunny TOS endpoint over here. So we are basically going to import it over here, and the TOS endpoint or the TOS API has its own and config that you need to pass. So first of all, you need to pass the TOS endpoint you are uploading to. You pass this delay. This is an example from their library, from their documentation. So another thing is you need to pass the Bunny the video ID. So here the authorization signature is the signature that will be generating from our server, and we'll be doing that in a Jiffy. The authorization expire is the time that this signature will expire. The video ID is the video that we're uploading, and the library ID over here is the Bunny library that we're uploading the video to. So we already configured this at the beginning of our application of this video. So you can go back at the beginning of this project. You should see this configuration that we've done. It is also over here in this our config file when we configure our environment variables. So we pass the library ID, then we pass it some metadata of the file that we're uploading, like the file name, the word, the file type, and the title, and where we want the thumbnail to be generated. So if, for instance, we are not uploading our thumbnail, our own manual thumbnail, so we are not selecting the thumbnails that have been generated, we want this video to be able to generate a thumbnail at a particular time. So you can specify the time over here in seconds. So if you specify 10, you generate a thumbnail at about 10 seconds. So this toss endpoint has an error callback. If an error occurs, we want to go ahead, call this notification and show the error message. And on progress, as the video is uploading, it will also show us the total bytes uploaded and the total byte of the file. So we want to, this way we're going to get the total bytes and the percentage, calculate the percentage, and update our state over here so that we can show it in our UI, the total bytes that are uploaded. And on success over here, if everything is successful, we want to now call our create video record so that you can save the video in our MongoDB. So this our create video record is going to be a function that will be expecting video, title, description, thumbnail, and the user ID, the user that is uploading the video. And basically, this is just we have just created an instance of this toss. So you can see upload over here is just an instance, new toss. So we'll be installing this library over here in a jiffy. So after that, we call this instance that we are creating upload of the toss and client, and check if there is any previous upload. If there's any previous upload, then we resume the upload. If there's no previous upload, then we can go ahead and start fresh one upload. So this is basically what this handle file upload is doing. So before we proceed, let's go ahead and install this library over here. So this library, as I said, we can use for resuming file upload. We can then actually check it out in the browser. Let's open new tab and search for npm. The name of the library is tus-js-client. So if we visit the npm library over here, you can see how they specify is exactly the same thing that we did over there. We created an instance of it, upload over here, we pass our endpoint. In this case, we pass our Bunny CDN endpoint, and then we pass these callbacks over here, and we start just the same thing. So if you want to see the documentation of this library, you can check out their Git repo over here, and they have specified everything and how you can be able to make use of this library. So this is the library that we'll be using over here. So let's copy this command and install in our project. So over here, let's paste it, and as it is installing, we will work on some. Let me explain this publish. When we click on this publish function on the publish button, we first of all want to check if a video file is selected, and then if there is what video ID available. So if a video file is selected, it will upload the video file to what, to a Bunny CDN, and then return the video ID. So if this is not present and we click on publish, then we want to show the user an error. So and then we will create a payload over here that we actually want to send to our database, and we have also created a schema over here for validating this payload. So when we click on that publish, and maybe we have not yet entered the title of the video and the description, we want to validate it over here using this schema. And then if the validation passes, we want to go update video record. So remember that when our video is uploaded successfully, on success, we are going to create a dummy video in our database and send it to draft over here by calling this create video record in our database. And then when we finally click on publish, we want to go ahead and update the video over here. So once we update the video can now have title and the description. So, and if an error returns and is type of result, then we want to go ahead and we'll look through the issues and show our error. So this is basically what this handle publish function is doing. And then we attach this handle publish on our publish button. So when we click on the button over here, we want to actually publish our video. So let's go ahead and tackle all these functions that we have not yet created. So this toss endpoint, we will have to actually import this from our Node.js client. So at the top over here, let's go ahead and import this. So import all as toss from our Node.js client, the library that we have just installed. So if we click over here, if we find it and we go down, you can see the error is gone over here, but we have some other functions that we need to tackle. So first of all, let's go up here and work on this function of getting file name. Our function get file name is just going to be a simple function over here. So all we have to do is to grab the file and get the file name, then we split it by dot. So since maybe we could have many dots within our file name, we want to get the last dot, and from there we get the extension. So if you have a file name like maybe we have a file like my video upload.mp4, and we split it by dot. All these things are going to be named, so it will be index 0, index 1, index 2. So this will be total length of 3. So we want to get this last extension. So the last extension, we get it over here, and then we want to go ahead and assign our uniqueness so that we can be able to differentiate our file uploads, our file that are manual, our thumbnails that are manually uploaded. Remember, I told you that when you upload a video to Bunny CDN, it generates a thumbnail for you. So the thumbnail could be something like thumbnail, which is a default name. And sometimes when you upload another thumbnail within Bunny CDN, it generates a thumbnail with dummy numbers like this, .jpg. So, but what if we are uploading our manual thumbnail? So we want to add a unique key to this so that we can be able to know where our thumbnail is coming from. So this thumbnail that is generated by Bunny CDN by default is uploaded to another storage. And when we are uploading our thumbnail manually, we want to upload it to our own storage that we created within Bunny CDN. So this storage is automatically used by Bunny CDN. It's different from the one that we have created, but it's all within Bunny CDN. So this, if we are uploading our own thumbnail, we want to use a unique name so that we can check if this stuff has, and if it is a manual thumbnail that we have uploaded, so that we can be able to display it in our application. So this UID over here, we already configured it at the beginning of our application. So it is actually a config file, and over here, if I check my environment variables that we define in the development, I only pass it a key. So I just pass it a key of _v, that is vistro underscore. So like you can pass it any unique string over here that can make you to identify which thumbnail you manually uploaded and which one will automatically generated by Bunny CDN. So this is basically what this get file function is doing. So and then we make use of it over here. So as for this function, it is actually going to be an action function. So but we'll be coming to that. Another function that we need to handle manually over here is converting a basis4 string to a file. So a basis4 string is a function that contains this data.image. So let's create this function. All right, so in order to create this function, we need to open our utils directory, our utils file or our utils directory over here, open up our utils, and we create the functions over here. So first of all, these are basis4 file. This is our basis4 to file function. Over here is going to take a basis4 string and the file name that we want to generate, then it will return a file. So we basically want to convert a basis4 string into a file. So we create this function, take the array, split it, get it the index, the main type over here, and then we loop through it using y, and we go ahead and return a file of UI int array over here. This is basically what it's doing. So we could also want to convert an image file to a basis4 when we have selected our own manual thumbnail to upload. So in that case, we will convert the file that is selected, to a basis4. So basically this function handles conversion of our file to basis4, and this function handles conversion of our basis4 file to file. So, and another function over here that is very important is generating thumbnails. Remember, when a video is selected, we want to generate the number of thumbnails so that user can manually choose which thumbnail to upload. So, and from there, we pass the file that we want to generate thumbnails. So we loop through it, specify the frame count that we want to generate. Maybe we want to generate at second 1, second 2, second 3, second 4, second 5. So then from here, we create return a promise, create a video element, create a canvas, generate a 2D, create a 2D element over here or context. And then the thumbnails over here. If not context, then we can reject. If the context does not exist in the environment, we will reject. Else we create an object URL, and we set it's muted. So basically we need to load the video, and when the video plays to some certain seconds, we will be able to generate thumbnails from that video. So this is basically what this generate thumbnails function is doing, and what basis4 to file function is doing, and what image file to basis4 is doing. So when we come over here, we can just import this function over here and use it like that. And the generate thumbnails function as well, we will import it. And now the functions that we are left with, they are actually actions that we need to actually work on. We also need to create this update schema. So in order to create the update schema, we need to open our schema directory and do that. Let's open our schema directory, and over here, if you open schema, go to index.ts. Over here, we should create this update video schema. So it's basically taking the title and checking the title is a string and has minimum of 1 character and the maximum of 100 characters. So, and we're checking the thumbnail minimum of 1, and the thumbnail is required. We also have a description over here, minimum of 2000, maximum of 2500 characters, and we also have tags over here that we check if the tags that are provided are string, or else it should by default we should return empty array. So our video can have empty tags or can have 1 or more tags, and the categories as well. Our video can belong to 1 or more, 0, 1 or more categories. So by default we want it to be 3. So that is what this update video schema is basically doing over here. So from there we can go ahead and import this over here to validate our schema. So some of the functions over here, if we scroll down, we commented out some things over here, like when a file is selected, we want to go ahead and upload. Like this one is the image thumbnail. So since we have this function available right now, we can go ahead and enable it. And when we click on this change video thumbnail, we also want to call this function over here. So these are the functions that I've already explained on how they work. We will see how they work in a jiffy. So these other functions now, we need to actually create some actions that we can be able to make use of it. So in order to create our server actions, let's briefly take a look at what server actions are. So like if you come to Next.js documentation, they say server actions and what mutations. They say server actions are synchronous functions that are executed on the server. They can be called in server and client component to handle form submission and data mutation in Next.js applications. So instead of creating an API over here, since we have our database within our Next.js application, with the power of server actions, we can be able to create actions that can be able to mutate data or go ahead and call an API endpoint. So we are going to create several server actions that can be able to communicate with our Bunny CDN and also communicate with our database. So let's do that. So in order to create server actions, first of all, we need to actually, and I had created a lib directory over here, and I created another function over here, another directory known as actions. So inside these actions, we need to place our server actions. So first of all, I want to have several server actions. So I'm going to create a file known as bunny.ts. And before you write any server action, you need to specify this directive at the top, use word server, to show that this function can only is a server word function. So and then we can import connect to database from what from database. So it's just going to go inside this, go out inside this DB over here. So and then we can go ahead and start creating our function. The first function over here is a function to generate our pre-signed signature. So this pre-signed signature, remember I told you it's a signature that, or it's a token that we're going to generate using our Bunny CDN to send it to our client's application to upload files. Normally, we are supposed to use Bunny CDN with the server to upload our files, but with this, we can be able to upload, generate a signature that can last for 24 hours or depending on the duration that is specified, send it to your users, and your users will use the token to upload the file to Bunny CDN on your behalf. So this is basically what this get pre-signed signature is going to do. So within it, we are going to create this function. So over here, the get pre-signed signature is going to be a simple function. It's going to take video ID, the video ID that we are generating the signature for, and the word, and expire scene, the time that particular signature will expire. So we are going to import Bunny library, the video library ID that we're uploading it to. So you are generating this signature, uploading the video to our Bunny video library ID. So this is what we already configured at the beginning of this project. If you don't understand, you can go ahead and open our config, check the environment variable, and see what we have over there. And the next thing is the Bunny word string key. So and the Bunny string key we already configured it, and then it will take the expires, convert it to a string. So this is the data. This all of this is specified on the Bunny documentation. Go ahead and check it out. Then we're going to make use of what the specified algorithm that we use for actually hashing this signature is what is SHA-256 algorithm. So from Node.js script, we're going to import crypto from what Node.js script. It's a library, it's a built-in library that is already there. So we import it, call it SHA-256, and create a signature and return. So this server action we can be able to call server Next.js server actions in what client or what or server component, and it will only be executed on the server. So our string API key, Bunny string API key is safe, so it will not be exposed to the client. It will generate and return this response. So that is what this signature is doing. So another function that we need to create over here is the create video records and server action function. So when this thing is uploaded successfully and returned, we want to go ahead and create a video records in our database. So let's handle this. So remember I told you that we're going to have several server actions. So it is good that we split into different files. So let's call this one stream.ts server functions, and before we write server actions, we need to specify this directive of what use server at the top over here, and we have this function. First of all, let's import our database over here, and this create video records, we want to actually save this video in our MongoDB database. So this is going to expect a payload of the video ID. This video ID is the ID that will be returned from our Bunny CDN server. So and the user ID, the user is uploading the video title, the description, the thumbnail of the video, and any other prop. So that we specify this is the payload that is going to take, and then we await and connect to the database. So let's put this inside a sync and await, so that if there is any error, it will be thrown in this our cache, it will be captured in this our cache block. So we call video model or create, then we pass all of these props that are over here. So let's go ahead and import video models over here and simply call this function. So after that, we want to actually convert this video into a JSON string. So when we call this convert video to JSON, it will convert all those object ID, which is underscore ID to the normal string. So if you remember on video model, we configure this transformation over here. So whenever we call this any instance of video and model to JSON, we should go ahead and convert the underscore ID into a normal string that we can use. So this is basically what this create video record is doing. Save the video in our MongoDB database. So let's go ahead and import this here. And the next function that we need to work on is the update. When we now finally click on this publish, now after we must have entered the title, enter the description, the tags over here, and we want to update our video record. We need to call this and pass the video ID and the data like the title, the description, the tags, the categories to update our video record. So let's handle this. So in order to do this stuff is going to be similar to our create video record. So they are going to reside in the same file. So and over here we will now implement our update video record. So our update video record is going to take payload that is similar to create video records because it's actually the same. So this we also take the video status. So we have the video status can be imported from video model as well. So when the video is first uploaded, we want the status to be the draft. And when the video has been processed on Bunny CDN, we handle that API. When it's been processed on Bunny CDN, it's going to send us a response through our webhook that we configured at the beginning of this project. So we grab the webhook and check if it has finished processing, and then update the status to public and change the status to ready. So first of all, we connect to our database over here, and all we just need to do is to call video model or update one based on the video ID and pass our payload. So this is basically what this update video records is doing. So after we are done with this function, we can go ahead and call the function over here like this. So what other errors are shown? So another thing over here is the create video ID. So this is the one that is going to actually, before we start uploading a video, this create video is going to do what? It is going to actually create a dummy video on our Bunny CDN API, and then return the video ID, where we can now use the video ID to upload video file to Bunny CDN using our TOS endpoint. So this one is basically going to create a dummy video on our Bunny CDN API, and then return the video ID, where we can now grab it over here and upload the video file to Word, and upload the video file to Bunny CDN server. So let's work on this function. Alright, so in order to work on this function, let's open our Bunny CDN. So still within server actions, because this is a function that's going to be executed on the server, we have some secrets that we don't want to expose to the client. So in order to do that, we have to actually it's going to accept the title, and we're going to use fetch over here to communicate with Bunny CDN API. So it's going to take the Bunny stream URL and the library, then we specify the video library ID that we want to create a video to, and we specify the video. So, and then over here in the header, we are going to specify these props. So it's going to accept application, and the content type is going to be JSON, and the access key it's going to be our Bunny string key. I explained all this at the beginning of this video, but you can go ahead and check this out. Our environment variable, the configuration that we did. If you don't understand, just rewind this video to the beginning where we did our configurations, and you understand this. So our Bunny string key over here as the access key that we're trying to play video. We don't want unauthorized access. So, and then from there, it's going to try to create a video, the dummy video over there, and to return the video ID. So, and this is going to return the type of our Bunny stream. So let's go ahead and create this type. So let's open our types file, types directory, and over here, if you check Bunny CDN, check their API under creation of video, you will notice a lot of things. So this is the response that is going to be returned from our Bunny CDN when we create a video. So, and the caption over here, this is the type. You can check out Bunny CDN API, upload and creating video, and you see the response type. And this, I guess, the error is gone. So this is the type that when it creates the video on Bunny CDN API, is going to return this kind of response. We don't need to save everything here though, because we are going to be making requests to what we are interested in is actually the GUID. This is the global unique ID of the video. So this is what we're interested in when we actually create the Bunny video. So let's go ahead and import this over here from our types. So after it has created this video, it's going to return this response. And once it returns this response, so let's import this function now from Bunny CDN. Remember, I told you we can be able to use server actions in client and server component. So this is the Bunny CDN. With this, we create the video, we check if there is no any error, then we set the video ID to the GUID, the global unique ID of this. So, and then we return. So which other error? Another thing is, what if we select a thumbnail? We want to go ahead and upload this thumbnail to Bunny CDN, right? Yes. So let's handle this function. Still within our Bunny CDN file, this is our server actions. Over here, we need to actually create a function, upload video thumbnails. So we are expecting a file. So this function over here, upload video thumbnail, is expecting a file, the video ID, the file name, and the previous thumbnail. So if I change the thumbnail of a video and there is a previous thumbnail, then we want to go ahead and delete the previous thumbnail. So over here, we can now import this Bunny storage base hostname. I've explained this at the beginning of this video. So I'm going to configure our environment variables over here, and then we also need the zone when we are uploading the video to storage. And then this one pass the video ID. The video ID here can serve as the path. So you can specify your path. So for instance, if the video ID is like this, I want to create a path within our Bunny storage and upload the video and drop it like this, maybe thumbnail.jpg. So this path can be anything of your choice. I've chosen it to be the video ID that will be my path over here, and then the file name. So this method of fetch that we're going to use over here, the HTTP method is going to be put. So and the body is going to take type of file. So and the Bunny access storage key. Remember, if you are dealing with stream, we use Bunny string key. These keys are different, so take note of them. And if you are dealing with storage, we may use Bunny storage API key. So we configure this at the beginning of this application. And the content type, you must specify it to be application / update string. So and we check if the result is okay. If the result is not okay, we return the status message. And another thing is I want to configure or create a full URL. We don't want to save the full URL in the database. We want to save the file name, and then when we are in the application, we can now compose the full URL of our application. So, and over here, if it is successful, now remember before we actually upload, change the thumbnail, we must have created the video. So, and if we have changed the thumbnail, then we need to also update the thumbnail where we created the video, because the video stream is stored under Bunny stream, while our file uploads are stored under storage. So two different things. So whenever we change the thumbnail, we must also update the video thumbnail. So we create this function in a jiffy. So again, if an error occurs when updating this thumbnail, this video thumbnail, we want to go ahead and delete this file that was just uploaded. And again, if there is a previous thumbnail, that we have just changed, we want to also go ahead and delete it. So we are going to create these two functions: update video thumbnail and we'll delete Bunny file. So the update video thumbnail function is going to take the video ID that we want to update and the thumbnail URL. So basically, we're just going to pass the name of the file. So then we compose the full URL when we actually display it within our client application. So in order to make requests to update this video thumbnails, we are going to take the stream URL. Remember, I told you that the storage is different from the stream. So the stream is where we're going to be uploading our videos, and the storage is where we're going to be uploading our files like images or any kind of file. So over here, the Bunny stream URL, because we want to update the video thumbnail after we must have uploaded the video thumbnail to storage. So two different things. And then the library and the video library that we want to access. We could have many video libraries. So we pass the video library ID and then the videos. So it will check the videos and which video ID that we want to update the thumbnail. Then / thumbnail, and it's take a query string of a thumbnail URL. Then specify this our thumbnail that we're uploading over here. So the HTTP method is going to be post, and the body is going to be an empty object. It's going to accept type of JSON, and then over here is going to accept the Bunny string key. So because we're dealing with string over here, not storage. So and then we go ahead and check. And if it is successful, we want to check the Bunny response. So let's create this type. The type is going to be simple. So since we are going to make use of it only within this file, let's go ahead and create it. So the type that is going to be returned is what? The type that is going to be returned is just success message and status code. If we have updated the video thumbnail, we're just going to return a simple response over here. So if everything goes well, we return the response. The next function that we need to work on is delete Bunny file. So the delete Bunny file is just simply going to be a simple function that if we have uploaded a file to storage and we try to change the thumbnail and there's an error, we want to go ahead and delete the file. So this one is going to be uploaded to storage, not stream. We are uploading our thumbnails to storage. So over here, we are accessing our storage base host name, the storage zone, the path. So the path over here in our case is going to be the video ID, and then the file name. So it's going to take headers. All our Bunny functions take headers with access key pro. So specify the API key of the API feature that we're trying to access, whether it's storage or whether it's stream. So specify the key over here, and then we delete the file. So this is basically what it's doing. So this function upload video thumbnail uploads a video and tries to upload a video thumbnail to storage, and then tries to update the video thumbnail in other stream. If it fails, it delete the file that is uploaded under storage. And if there is a previous thumbnail, we also delete that previous thumbnail. So and then return the response. So this is basically what this function is doing. So at the end of the day, we will import this upload video thumbnail. These are server actions, and they're going to be executed on the server completely of our client. So from here, we need to call this function file upload somewhere when we select our file. So you can see it is expecting an env. So when we select our video file, we need to actually call this over here. So instead of this over here, making this change over here, let's call the function over here if pass our event. So when we select our video file over here, we want to now call this file upload function, and it will check if files exist, and if a file is selected, the file is not selected, to return, which is stop the upload. And if file is selected, to go ahead and generate video thumbnails, and then call this precise signature to generate to first of all get video ID. If video ID is not present, it will go ahead, call Bunny CDN, create a dummy video, return the video ID, and then generate a token to enable our client to be able to upload the video. So that will be the signature. We go ahead and call toss API. So the toss API will take this and send to our Bunny stream. So and then it will pass the necessary props over here, and it will upload the video. On return, if on progress, it will show us the progress of the video. If it is successful, we go ahead and save the record in our MongoDB, waiting when we now finally click on publish to update the record. So, but before we do this, we need to actually handle our Bunny CDN. So when we are uploading this video to Bunny CDN, after the video has been uploaded to Bunny CDN is going to call our webhook. Remember at the beginning of this project, we set our webhook. After Bunny has uploaded the file, it will now call our webhook to send the status update. So in order to handle that, we need to come under our API. Remember, under our API, we created a Bunny route over here, and inside the route, we need to implement and make our implementation over here to accept the response or the status, the video or the file status that we sent from Bunny API within our application. So over here, we're just going to create a simple Next.js endpoint that is going to be a type of post. and we define our types over here. The response that is going to be sent through our webhook is the video library ID, the video GUID, and the status. So the status ranges from 0 to 10, and yes, when you're using Bunny CDN, you can check it out in the documentation. So, and then we have saved the search pattern. So remember, we provided our webhook with the key in the URL. So we pass this URL was search pattern, so query pattern. So we want to check if the key that is being sent through Bunny API to our webhook is actually the same with the key that we have configured within our environment variable over here. So if you check over here, we have our Bunny storage. Let me check. You can see the webhook over here. I told you could generate any key. This is a key of your choice. You just want to be able to differentiate between the requests that are coming from Bunny CDN and any other person that might try to make requests to your endpoint. So over here, we now want to check accesses to the query string in the URL and check if it is equal to our configuration within our environment variable. If it is not equal to, we throw an error. But if it is equal to, then we go ahead and await get the JSON file over here. Over here, we want to check if the body, that is the response that is returned from Bunny, the response is going to contain a video library ID prop. So we want to check if it's not equal to our Bunny and video library ID. So I've already configured our Bunny library ID that we configure every time at the beginning of this project. So we check if the response that is sent to our webhook, the library ID, are the same. So if it is the same, now we now go ahead again and check if the status is equal to 3. So status 3 indicates that the video has finished processing. So if the video has finished processing, we go ahead and call our video model over here, our MongoDB model over here, update our video where the video ID. So the video ID is going to be the ID of our Bunny CDN. It's equal to this the body.video GUID that is returned from our webhook. So from there we say the video status to public and we say this rate is true so that we can be able to show within our client application. When a user first uploads the video status is draft. So the user can choose to make the video public or private. So by default, if the response returned from Bunny CDN is equal to 3, it's going to send us multiple responses, but we only tackle the one that is 3 and update the rest. We just send a response to show that we have safety the webhook. So if there's any error, we again send it back. So let me show you the webhook within Bunny CDN. So if you come within Bunny CDN and you go on that stream over here and you click on your video library over here and you click on API over here, if you scroll down, you will see the webhook that we provided over here. This is our webhook and we provided a key over here in the URL query params. So this is the key that we are accessing over here and checking if it matches with the one we have configured. This the same key that we have configured within our application. If it matches with this one, then we go ahead and update our video respectively. So this is how we can be able to handle file upload within Bunny CDN. So we have implemented a lot of things over here. We have implemented handling video uploads and file uploads to Bunny CDN, and then returning it, updating our own database within our own application. So this is basically all about file upload. So since we are done with this file upload, let's check if everything is up and running. So our app is up and running. In case there is an error over here, let's go ahead and ensure we save everything. Let's save everything and then we start our application. We will restart our application and also check if our port is currently running. So our port is running. Let's open it to the browser and see. So you can see our port is running over here, and this is the port that we are exposed, and this is the endpoint that we pass our Bunny CDN webhook. This could be your domain name, so your URL to your website. So, but for now, since we're dealing with everything locally, we decided to make use of this VS Code port forwarding, so that you can be able to forward this to our port 3000. So, and you will also notice that our app too is also running. Everything is up to date over here. So, in order to test whether our app is working, let's go ahead and try to upload a video, to publish a video to the endpoint and see. So let's click over here and try to actually select any video, like this video over here. Let's select another one like this one over here. Click on open. Once we select, you can see it has generated thumbnails for us and it is uploading the video. You can see our byte uploads, our progress uploads over here, and you can see the type. So we can go ahead and specify the type over here. So we can maybe ask AI to generate a dummy. You can see our video is uploaded successfully, and if you check your database, it has created a dummy video for you based on this and saved in the database. So we can choose to upload our manual thumbnail that we have designed for a video, or we can choose these thumbnails that are auto-generated for us. So let's go ahead and then check our MongoDB and see. Open your MongoDB Atlas and try to connect to your connection string over here, and let's check our database. Our database name is VistroYT, and we're going to check videos. So if we check video, you can see we have a video. So this video is first created. The video is created as we try to upload video to Bunny CDN. It's upload the video, then save the video ID over here that is returned from our Bunny CDN. and then save title by default as empty, thumbnail is empty, and you can see its rate is true, and the categories too is empty, the status is public. So by default, when we first created this video, the video was what? Draft, but it has changed to public. Why? Because our API endpoint over here is actually listening to events from what? From Bunny CDN API. If we open our terminal over here, you can see a series of requests that our API, our endpoint, our webhook is returning. So you can see the first webhook that is returned here, returned with a status code of 7 with the video word ID and the video library over library ID over here. Another status is 6, that is another request. Another status is 0. This is what we have implemented under the API of Bunny. You can see we are logging all these requests that are being made to this endpoint, and we are validating if these requests are actually coming from what? Bunny CDN based on our key that was specified. So you can see, and we check if the status is equal to 3, it should upload the video, update the video status in our database to public, and change this is ready to true. So let's check the status, continue checking the status. Another status is 0, another status is 1, another status is 2, another status is 4, 4 again, 3. So you can see when the status 3 happen over here, you can see another message that is published over here. It is what DB updated successfully. So you can see this other statuses it has been ignoring. These are other things like it is converting, processing different resolutions for your video, it is transcoding, it is generating captions, it is generating title, and all these are different statuses. So if you check Bunny API, it will show you different kinds of upload status that is being streamed to your word, to your webhook. So but we are only concerned with status number 3. Status number 3 indicates that the video has finished processing. So when it has finished processing, that is when we now make the video public within our API, within our app. So now if we go to our Bunny storage now, we should see this video uploaded here. So let's check it out. Coming over here, if we access our Bunny storage over here, and when we come over, we are using this YT stream, and when you come over here, you should see that this video, look at it here, is just what uploaded. We can click on the video details over here to see the video title and to see video ID. So let's check our database if this video ID matches with the one in our database. So you can see the video ID is 661A and it ends with C83. So this video ID here too, it is what 61A and its end was C8 what 86. So C86 with the same video ID. So this is the video ID that is generated. So when we upload video to what to Bunny CDN, it handles all the bulk of processing our videos for us. It handles caption generation, chapters, moments. It also shows us the statistics of video. It handles transcoding, encoding, and we can be able to do a lot of things with Bunny CDN. So things that we could have done by ourselves, Bunny CDN handles it for us at cheaper rate. So these are your YouTube videos work. When you upload video, YouTube processes the video, changes it to different formats, different resolutions, and we're going to see how we can be able to play different resolutions within our application when we actually call this endpoint. So we can go under caption. For now, caption is empty, but you could give your users this feature for them to be able to create captions within their video. To also specify chapters, to also specify moment. If our videos is being viewed, it can also show us the watch time, the total views, and everything. The transcoding over here, it shows error and all this kind of stuff. If it has not finished, it can show maybe say something is missing and all the like. And we can be able to go ahead and play our video. You can see Bunny CDN has its own player over here. This is the same player that we're going to integrate within our application. So you can see the video is already playing over here, and we can be able to view the video in different. You can see the speed, the quality, all these things. The resolutions are auto-generated for us, and we're going to use the same player in our own application. Wow, how cool is this? So let's get back to our application over here, and let's ask AI to generate a video, to generate content on what, to generate content. Let's open our chat and ask AI and generate video title and description for a party video. Yeah, YouTube. So you can see that generated a title for us. So we can copy this title and go to our application over here. So and paste this title over here like this, and then we'll copy the description as well. So let's navigate back and copy this description over here, and we will paste it over here. Let's remove. We use this hashtag over here. So these are the tags. We paste the hashtag, hit enter. We paste this hashtag again and hit enter. We can paste this one again and hit enter. We can add our own hashtag like music. We can add our own hashtag like lifestyle. So we can add a lot of word hashtag. We can remove these ones over here. We can select the categories that our video belongs to. So we can say it is what, maybe here like this, we can say it is entertainment, it is music, it is what, maybe art and design, or any kind of thing, politics, any kind of category that you want. So for instance, we can say art and design like that, and then we click on publish. So you can see they say thumbnail is what is required. So let's check where the error is actually occurring. All right, back here, remember I told you that when we publish our video, Bunny CDN will generate a thumbnail for us. So that thumbnail that is generated automatically is always thumbnail.jpg. So if we are not changing the thumbnail, then we are making use of the thumbnail that is generated by what? By Bunny CDN. So by default, our thumbnail should be what? Thumbnail.jpg. This is a file that Bunny CDN is going to automatically generate for our video. So let's change the default state, our initial state to be thumbnail.jpg. So we come back over here and try to publish our video. So like this one, the state is what? The state is not yet changed over there even when we save our application. So that's the reason why it is what showing this error, because our validation is not what actually passing. So we can actually go to this pass sync node here to our video schema for now and specify over here. We can just specify that we can remove this for now so that we can enable it. It's just for now so that we can be able to publish our video. Let's see if Next.js will update the changes. If they don't update the changes, then we need to re-upload this video again. So you can see our video is published successfully. So, and if let's check our database and see. So if you come to our database over here, our video has been uploaded, but there is no thumbnail. So because the changes that we made, so let's go ahead and type a thumbnail.jpg like that and update it manually, because that is going to be the name of the file. And you can see the title, the description, the tags that were selected, we have entered, and the categories as well. So now if we go back now and enable this back over here, and within our page client, we'll also specify our default thumbnail over here. If we refresh the page and we try to upload another video, it will pick this thumbnail by default. So we can refresh this page now so that we pick the latest changes and select another video that we want to publish over here. And maybe select this video like this, and it has generated thumbnails for us, and we can ask it to generate the title and whatever for us. So we can pick this one. Maybe we can say this one is under health, this one's under science and technology, like that, and we can enter some titles like maybe music, dark, and love, and we can also enter the description. So we can enter the description like love in the A. So we love in the word A, and then we can enter the description over here. Let's copy this since it's just a dummy content anyway. We can copy this description and add it over here. So this will be our description. Now if you click on publish, now video is published successfully. So picking our thumbnail.jpg by default. Let's check our database. So if you come to our database now, we should have 2 videos that are published, and you can see our webhook has received a response and changed the video to public. So you can see our video that is uploaded over here, and everything looks great. So the next step over here, since we have handled video upload, is actually to be able to call this video within our application and display them within our application. So that is the next step now. In order to display videos within our application, we need to come to pages over here and create a file known as index.ts file, and we create another one known as homepage. So let's call it homepage.txs file, and within this homepage, let's go ahead and export a React component, and within this index, we go ahead and export this component so that we can be able to use it within our application like that. So, and over here, another step is before we actually proceed, we need to install a library known as SWR. SWR is a client data fetching library in Next.js or in your React application. So install this library. If you come to the browser over here and search for SWR, you should be able to see this website, this web page over here, and it describes all the kind of features that you can be able to integrate it within your application fetching data. So, and the next step over here is to actually, and this our client component is going to be expecting videos. So it's going to take block of videos. So, and the video over here, it can be our app video. So our app video is going to be our app video interface. So our app video interface over here, we need to create it. So let's do that. Open the file types and go inside, and below this, let's go ahead and at the top over here, let's go ahead and space this type. So our video is just the one in the database, our MongoDB database. So, but you're going to be expecting ID, title, description, tags of string, thumbnail of string, video ID, the Bunny CDN video ID, the shares can be 0. This is how we actually modded our database. The total likes, total comments, total bookmarks. All these are props that we're going to generate when we fetch the video, the created ads, and the categories. And the next step over here is the tuning video. And whenever we fetch a video from the database to display it within our application, we are going to actually make a request to our Bunny CDN API and also get the video. So we check if the video exists in Bunny CDN before we can be able to display the video within our application. And this type over here is the same type that is over here. So, and if we have used this anywhere, like within our lib, actions, and Bunny, then we can go ahead and replace this like this. So it is going to be the same. Whenever we fetch the video or we create the video, it's going to return similar response. So this is under our type. Then we can go ahead and import our video type over here. So this is what this our homepage component will be expecting. So after we are done with that, we go ahead and open this app directory, go over here, and within this app directory, we want to actually within this page, we want to actually import our homepage component here. So let's import our homepage component, and it's expecting video. So over here, we have to go through this and fetch our videos from our database. So for now, let's keep it like this, and we just call app video, and we pass it an empty array like this. Then we pass the prop to videos like this. But this homepage component also, we want to display the video categories. so that users can be able to view videos per category. So in order to do that, we have to actually pass a node over here. Our categories component is going to be a server component, and if you check, this home page is going to be a client component. So I told you about client and server composition pattern. So we can be able to use that here as well, and we can call it what, custom category, or we can just call it category node, like this. So, and it's going to be type of what, React node. So that is just it. And when we are calling it on the server over here, when we are calling this component in our page over here, it will be expecting a category node. And over here, before we actually display our component, let's open this as a React fragment. Let's open React fragment component over here, and we display our categories. So we can just drop it inside the box element and have our categories displayed over here. So our categories node is going to be a server component that we want to display within a client component. From here we can display our videos. So let's work on these categories and categories components that we're going to pass on the server over here. Open our file over here and go down to components, and within our components we create two files. One known as what, top categories what, server. So it's going to be a server component, and within it we fetch the categories from the server and then display it over here. And then we create another one, what, top section category. So this one will be a client component that will render our categories. So over here, create another component known as what, top section categories.tss, and we export a client component like this. So let's first of all look into this server. So the server is actually fetching our category based on the categories model. But since we may actually want this to be a cached version, let's export this. We won't have to, since it is the same within the same file, this is going to be exported like this. And then since this is a server component, let's go ahead and create a cache version of this function. So const what, fetch, we get categories, const get categories is equal to, we call cache from React so that we can be able to catch this function, store it in the cache. So it's going to be an async function over here that will return this. We are making request to the database, so let's go ahead and connect our database. We cut this thing over here and drop it here. So we first of all establish connection to database, and then we will fetch the categories. Then we look through it, compose the categories to return what, and the name and the ID. Then we finally return the categories. But if there is an error, we want to return empty array like this. So this function will be cached if it is called repeatedly instead of accessing our database always. So when we come down over here, all we just need to do is to say const our categories is equal to await what, the cache function that we just created. So from here, these are top section categories is expecting categories. So, and we can now go inside this is expecting categories prop, and the categories prop is type of what, app category. That is an array of what, app category. Remember, we already have a type like this. So if you hover over it, is app category that is expecting. So we can go ahead and render our categories over here. So we can just say React or fragment, and over here we can render our categories. So within our top categories over here, let's replace it with this code, then I will explain. So first of all, we want to be able to allow a user to select category. Over here, we want to make use of what, a context, and this context will allow us to pass data, to use data in what, or to reuse data from the context in different components without passing it as props. So we create a context and save our category such that when a user selects a category on the top, we'll be able to trigger this on the client side to fetch videos under that particular category. So you can see the same category that we are saving over here from the server. We are actually creating another data. We want to also show all categories. So we create an empty category with ID over here, and the what as the name with all, and then we pass in our categories that is fetched from the server. So we spread them over here. So at the end of this, we want to return all the category including this one, because if it is this all category, we want to fetch all videos. And then we use app context. We are going to create a context in the Jiffy, and then over here we set a state. Whenever a category is changed, we will now what, and set the value to the current value. So before that, let's install another library that we can be able to use debounce. We don't want a situation where a user will repeatedly click on the same category. You will notice that it's going to be changing whenever user clicks. So if a user clicks 100 times, it's going to change. So and this will be triggering requests to our server. So at the end of the day, we have numerous requests to our server that we are not expecting. So in order to mitigate that, we have to make use of what is known as debounce. So debounce, we debounce the request after some time. So for instance, if we say the debounce of 1000, that after 1 second as the user create a request, click on a category, that is when we now go ahead and change the state of that category and make request to our server to actually fetch the category. So we debounce that function for what, for 1 minute. So if within 1 second, for 1 second, if within 1 second the user has clicked on a different category up to 10 times, it will only pick the last category that the user has clicked on. So this is how you can be able to implement what, a debounce function over here. So but before we make use of this debounce function, we have to install a library known as what, lodash. So just type this command npm install lodash like this. and it will install the library. The error should be gone. If the error is not gone, then we have to install the types over here. So let me see. So just hover over this bounce over here, copy this command and install the types for the bounce. So and we can, the types for Lodash, and then we can now go ahead and access functions within this Lodash to use. So let's go ahead and create another directory inside this source directory known as what context. So let's call it what context, and within the context directory we create another file known as app context.txs. So like this. So first of all, our context is going to be a client component, and we have already specified a key over here. Within this context, since we are dealing with context now, we are going to go ahead and implement our player configuration over here too. So you can see our player configuration is expecting types of what of app settings. So let's go ahead and create this type. So if we open our types file, we can go at the bottom, or let's say at the top over here, and create type for our app settings. So our app settings is going to be what autoplay, loop, muted, and preload. So this is just going to be our app player settings. So within our context, we import that. Another library that we want to make use of, when we change our player settings, we want to save it in a cookie, so that when the user revisit our site, we fetch the player cookies, the player settings from the cookie. So let's install this library, again known as npm install or React use cookie. So then we create a context, the type of our context. So it's going to take cat. So our cat can be string or null. So by default, our category that is selected is going to be null, and if it is null, we fetch all categories. But if the category has changed, then we fetch based on that category. And then we create a state over here, function for changing our category. We also create a setting of type what app setting, and we say the app setting is going to have what loop. This is going to be applied to our player. So and then we create update settings so that we can be able to change it when we go to settings page. We can be able to change our player settings. Then based on this context, based on this settings over here, we have created default settings over here, autoplay true and all this. Then we have called create context from React over here, this function. Then we pass in our iapp context, this type over here, and then we specify our default values over here. In order to consume context within our application, we have to create a provider and wrap a whole component that we want to consume the context. So over here, we have created app context provider, and it is expecting pros of children. So the whole component of this provider will wrap it, and it's expecting our settings. So we fetch the settings from the cookie on the server and pass it down to our context. So when the user makes the settings and then comes back to our application again, we fetch it from the cookie that we have saved in the user's browser and pass it to our application. So and then we have created a state over here. So this use cookie is the one that we imported from our React use cookie over here. So it will access the cookie over here. So we say based on the cookie keys. So this cookie key is the one that we configure in our app cookie here. We call it vstroke player settings. So we can give it any key of your choice over here, and then we pass it. This use cookie is going to expect a key and a word, an initial value. So we say if pros.settings, settings is passed from our server, then we want to JSON stringify, convert it to an object to a string over here. Else we use our default settings that we defined over here at the top. There is no any cookie. Then we create a set state over here for changing our word categories. We have our settings over here, state 2, that we have saved the state of our settings. So and over here, we want to also be able to update settings. So when we update settings, we go ahead and call this set cookie from use cookie to save it in our cookie. So this one will enable us to set cookies within the user's browser. So we go ahead to return this context. We go ahead and call the app context. This one over here, this context that we created, provider. Then it's going to take a value prop, and then we pass in the values that we want to use within our application over here. Then we call props.children. So the props.children is a component that whichever component that we're going to wrap this context provider. So this is the context provider. Then when we want to make use of this context within our application, we have to create a function that use app context, and then we call this use context hook from React. We import it from React over here and pass the app context. So by the way, you can see our function is use callback over here. So use callback will help to minimize our function. So if the same value is called multiple times, it will still return the previous function that is called. So this is basically what this is. Then we export this one so that we can use it in any company. We export this to wrap the whole application. So let's go ahead and wrap the whole application with this app context provider. So let's copy this name and head to our app directory, open our layout, and we have to wrap the whole of this. So the whole of our children over here within this Next.js provider. So let's import this app context provider from there, and we wrap it like this. So we cut the whole of these children and drop it inside. Then here, let's paste children. But our app context provider is also expecting settings. Settings can be undefined or dull. So let's access cookies over here and set to our app settings. So if there is any cookie, player settings cookie, we access it on the server over here and send it down to our context. All right, in order to access cookies in Next.js, we have to import cookies from Next headers. So we can say what cookies. Let's import cookies from Next headers. So we are importing cookies from Next headers, and we say cookies is equal to await cookies. So we now get the cookie that we want to to access over here. So we call this cookie from next header over here dot get what, the name of the cookie that we want to get. So the name of the cookie over here, the player settings config that we have configured. So and we want to check if the cookie exists. So over here in our settings, I want to pass the settings cookie. We check if s.cookie, then we call what JSON.password s cookie. S will do what? Will return undefined. When we are making use of cookies for next header, so over here it returns the cookie's name if it exists and the value. So all we have to do is to access s_cookie, that is settings cookie dot what, the value. So we are only passing the value. So this value that we pass from our layout on the server client, on the server component over here, will be accepted in our app context. So if a player have an existing settings that is saved, if a user has existing player settings that is set, our video player settings that is saved, it will accept it, pass it to our context provider over here, and our context over here, we set it as our default settings. So this is basically what this thing is doing. So on the categories page over here, we can now go ahead and import this context. So I'm calling it context instead of context. So let me change the name over here to context, not context. So let's change the name, and I guess every other thing. Then we can go to layout over here. Yes, the name is changed to context as well. And when we come to categories over here, let's go to top category. The name is changed as well. So we access the context over here and set category. So whenever we render these categories in our client application, the user clicks on categories, we go ahead and call this set category so that it will set it generally within our word context, and we can be able to access the categories anywhere within our word, within our application. So since we want to show these categories within MUI tabs, we want to show it within a tab so that a user can be able to scroll the tab, or they can be able to click on the button on the right and on the left arrows to navigate through the tab. So even if it's on mobile device, the user can be able to use his thumb to scroll. So we're making use of the tabs component from MUI. So and then the tabs component will take the value or the categories that we're changing, and if you take on change listener, whenever we change a category, it will go ahead and call this word on change category. So it will prevent default. It will also prevent propagation, and we set the value immediately. But then when we want to actually make requests to our server, that is when we now debounce this our update. Remember, a user could click on the same category 10 times. So we only want to pick the last time that the user clicked. So the 10 times. If a user click on multiple category within 1 second, then we only want to pick the last category that the user has selected. So that is the meaning of this debounce. So we debounce the function so that it can delay afterward, after some certain time, before actually invoking our server to make requests to our server to fetch videos based on that category. So all we do is we look through this data that we have created over here, and then display this video in a tab and display all these categories. So we look through this, we look through the categories, that is the data, and we'll display the categories within the tabs. So at the end of the day, we're going to see our categories at the top. So after this, we check if everything is okay. So we're actually importing this from categories like this. So why is it still showing error? Let's see on top section categories. So it is fixed now. What did we do here? We didn't export this as a default function. So that is the reason why it was showing that. So if we export it as default function and we go back to our top category over here, we don't need to pass that bracket. So over here, so our top category server is basically calling this our catch server, our catch function, calling this our function over here, getting the categories and calling our top section category and what, and passing the scope of our categories. Then we accept it over here and display the categories in the tab. So this is what basically this top category server is doing. So but this function is going to be executed on the server, and our page over here is going to be executed on the client side. So we do what is known as client server composition pattern. So what we use here is client server composition pattern. We can be able to display a server component in a client component without the client component actually knowing that it's a server component, because these things are going to be rendered differently. So after we are done with our top category server over here, we now export this function so that we can now use it in our client component. So it is a server component, but we are going to do what is known as composition pattern to make use of it within our client component. So on the server over here, when we are importing this home page to display within our dashboard page, our main dashboard path over here, is expecting a category node. So we can now go ahead and call this top section server categories node and pass it as a component like this. So this is a server component that is going to be sent to a client component, and this client component will not know that this is a server component, so this will execute on its own. So it will display our categories. So within this, our client component will now go ahead and also display our video. So these two things are what executing independently. So let's check it out in the browser and see.